Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in again, and a very Merry Christmas to all those who celebrate. As always, this is your host, Ryan Gray. Got a special year in review of sorts for you today. We got a show with clips of some great guests from the past year, answering one of the common questions, which is, what is a question you wish you would be asked, but nobody ever does? So we get to hear from a bunch of different voices dating all the way back to the first episode of this year till almost the current day. So please enjoy. Hope everybody's had a wonderful 2024, a happy new year as we go. And I left in everybody's drop the mic catchphrases for fun also. And let's get to it.
You're listening to the AV-IT Amplifier. Each week, we'll feature voices and ideas that need to be amplified in the higher education and pro-AV IT communities. This show is brought to you by higherEdAV.com. And now here's your host, Ryan Gray.
I'm Chief Tyran Christopher Payne. I'm the Chief of Police for Yavapai College Police Department. 30 years law enforcement experience, 20 and some change of that in Yavapai County, 10 of that in United States Army Military Police Corps.
What is a question that nobody ever asks you, but you wish people would ask?
How are you doing today?
Nobody ever asks you that?
Not often. Not as often as you think. I come into conversations asking how they are doing, but it's not the first thing. Usually when people see me, it's, oh, hey, there's Ty. Hey,
I need something. Yeah.
Maybe it's the uniform. I don't know. I'm dressed as a cop almost every day. So yeah.
I wonder, is there maybe I don't want the answer to that because the chief of police might tell me something I don't want to know is going on, or I wonder, do you see kind of like your personality? So interactions come in and people, because they know you, the expectation is already he's there to care for me, not the other way around.
I think so. And I think a lot of people assume that, well, he's a cop. He's okay.
Oh, yeah. Cops are stoic. They're, 100%. They're bulletproof.
Yes. That's a misconception.
Yeah.
Yep. We are human too. So, yeah, I think that's a big piece of it.
You do such a good job. Like, people are so glad to see, like I say, you put that out there. It's like, it would be very easy to go every day. Of course, Ty's doing great. Look, every day he's doing great. Every day he's doing great.
Yeah. And, yes.
All right.
That'd be nice.
Thank you for that. I'm on it.
Thank you.
Appreciate
that. Thank you.
All right.
Stay safe, America.
We are back for week two, number 2 with Britt Yenser. Britt, thank you for coming back to the show and standing up to what is, I like to say, the most intense questionnaire in podcast area, but I think yours is probably a little more intense than mine. So I will concede that to you at this point.
Thank you. I accept.
Third to last question is usually what's a question that you wish would be asked but isn't, but you've already answered that, and your answer to was how are you, and for people to actually care about that answer. And I know that answering it on a podcast is different than answering it to a friend, but Britt, how are you?
Right, and so here's the challenge, because my default is to go good. So, while I said at the time, I desire for people to genuinely ask this of me and have a real conversation, it's actually very difficult to then give the genuine response. And there's something I have discovered about myself, and this goes back to childhood upbringing and family. So when I was a kid, my grandmother lived with us throughout a good chunk of my childhood, and she was from Italy. And there are parts of Italy where you do not share with others your good fortune or tell them that you are doing well. And you do not accept a compliment from others unless they bless you first. And it's this idea of the evil eye, that if you were to tell others of your good fortune, that they could put the evil eye on you, and now your good fortune goes away. And I didn't realize how much I internalized that without realizing that's what I was doing. But I feel like that's why when people ask, how are you? I'm like, I'm good, I'm fine. Well, things could be better. Sometimes I'm even like, things could be better, even if they're going amazingly. Because there's this internalized I can't reveal that I'm doing well because they might hex me.
No, and they're
So
like,
do you like how I gave you a really long story without actually answering the question?
well, but that is, here's what I would say. That's a very appropriate way to answer that on something that is public. I think part of the point is asking that question here and now is not an appropriate place or time to ask said question. What is the relationship with the person? How, if you really care about the answer, don't ask it when you know they can't answer it, right? And I've thought a lot about that. That is a common response, and I think people are hungry for people who truly want to know how they are, but we rarely do it in a place and time where it can really truly be dealt with. And then the other side to it is people have to be willing. Even my wife and I, we've normalized a little, like, you know, it's okay for something to be wrong and for the other person to be like, yeah, but I can't, like, now's not the time for me to unpack that thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't tear that thing down and work it out right now. That won't be good for me. Therefore, it's okay to let it sit until there's a place and time we can. That, like,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Championing quality, you know, genuine engagement takes that kind of work. So, okay. But I hope in reality things are going pretty well.
They actually are, yes. I'm Britt Yenser, and perhaps you could help solve a mystery.
We have a very special guest back for week 2, Mr. Tim Albright. Tim, how are you today?
I am fantastic. How are you?
What is a question that you wish somebody would ask you, but nobody ever does?
That's a hard one. What do I want to be when I grow up? I don't have an answer. I just thought it was a cool question.
No, but like...
So there's an old dear friend of mine. He was actually my brother-in-law before my sister passed. I still call him my brother-in-law. He's 5 years older than me. And he's done several things, and he's been very successful in business. He never went back and finished his degree, and he somewhat jokingly, but somewhat still seriously, will say, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, right? I have the opposite problem. I've got a list of things that I'm trying to get to before I get out of here.
Yeah. But that list, so it's got to be done.
It has to be done. At least I want. It's like one of the things I'm doing right now, and very, I don't know why I'm telling you this. I'm writing a book, right? That's why I don't say it, because of that reaction.
Okay.
But I'm writing a book on, how to overcome failure, right? And it's a very personal journey for me because, I've had some pretty dark times in my life, and reliving those, but also helping others, whether that is a personal failing or it's a business failing or whatever, there is light, right? There is hope, regardless of where you are in this, right? Even if you're at the bottom of the barrel or there is no barrel. Right, so this is one of those things where it is what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be a writer. I want to be a speaker, and people will look at me sideways. Well, you speak every Friday. Well, yes, but that's different, right? Yeah. So those are kind of the two things I want to be when I grow up.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
I love it. And you're right. I will take back my. But that's very exciting news.
So avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. That's it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
avnation.tv.
That's avnation.tv.
With Tim Albright.
Yep.
So I'm Carrie Garcia. I work with YCD Multimedia. I am a mom, wife, sister, daughter, and mother-in-law, and soon to be fabuela. That's awesome. So I wish people would ask me if am I white? Am I Hispanic? What am I?
Yeah.
A lot of people assume that I'm just too blonde for business.
Right.
They never get to know me. They never get to know my struggles, what I've been through, how I came up in the ranks.
Right.
Not that I'm ranking anything, but what I've done or where I've come from.
Right.
I walk into a room, they see, red lipstick and, colorful outfits or whatnot, and they don't know what to make of me.
Right.
And I wish people would just come up and ask, okay, so what's your story? Yeah. And then, I've gotten too blonde for business because I like to dye my hair. I'm premature gray at 18, and I think blonde looks good on me. So I think I've gone through every color.
Perfect. So it's a little more like, I'm putting myself out there. It's okay to be curious.
It's okay to approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're not sure, because what you see is what you get sometimes.
Right.
And then sometimes, and it's okay to ask questions. As long as you're respectful, I don't mind answering any question.
So the question you wish people would ask is just ask questions.
Ask questions. Yeah. Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, and I hope you see.
Yeah.
I can ask you some questions.
Oh, 100%. And I gave you answers. I will let you behind the scenes. Take what you've learned, take what you've seen, go back home and get carried away.
Yes. My name is Kameesha Jones. I'm an audiovisual project manager for Florida International University, and I also work with the Miami Heat as an audio engineer.
What is a question that you wish you would be asked, but no one ever does?
So I get a lot with, me being a black female, how, as me being a black female, the obstacles I faced. Mm-hmm. Instead of how does the obstacles of you being a black woman helps you motivate you to do what you do. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of deficits, a lot of negativity. Like, yeah, I'm a black woman, and we definitely do go through a lot of trials and tribulations. But through those trials and tribulations, I have, renovated a ballroom. I've done this. I've done that. So
I love that. Yeah, not tell me about the obstacles you've had to overcome, but how have the obstacles you've overcome made you the excellent person that you are today?
Absolutely.
Well, that's a great question. We have to do that one again because I feel like that's a longer answer than one. That's awesome. But I love like you use that sort of deficit thinking versus non-deficit thinking. It's
right. Absolutely.
Implied. You can get the same question, but the expected answer is implied based upon the thinking of the way it's phrased from the beginning.
Right.
Thank you. All right. Well, whatever the answer to that is, it seems like you've learned quite a bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're signing off with Kameesha Jones. Always be authentic to yourself and be true to yourself.
I'm Jordan Scales. I am an employee of Crestron. I am actually a education liaison, I like to call myself, or an ally of the education space. So my customers and the people that I am blessed to work with are the likes of Yavapai and all the other schools in Nevada and Arizona.
What is something that you wish people would ask you, but nobody ever does?
I'm probably going to make something up.
Whatever the answer is, see, this is the best part of these questions. There's no wrong answer to it.
Shit. Can I give you $1 million?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I wish somebody would ask me that.
But that's not an uncommon answer when I ask this question. Yeah.
Because that's a difficult question, right? I'm not that kind of guy that wishes people, like, I don't care what people do know or don't know about me.
Right.
They're probably going to find it out anyways because I'm a big mouth and I'm willing to share. Yeah. So.
But no, I like that. I think that is an answer because sometimes it's almost a stand-in for like I wish people would ask, what can I solve for you a little bit? Like, what does give me $1 million mean?
Right.
And when you think about that, you'd be like, okay, that would change the following things. And so I think that's like I said, one, there's no wrong, but it's a good answer because you're kind of going like, I don't know. Does that
even today with inflation, $1 million is like
it doesn't solve what it used to solve.
No, I still got to work.
Yeah, exactly. But is that some of maybe where that comes from? Like just that I'm ready for that thing that just sort of falls in and changes something.
It changes, yeah. That was I don't need it, but I'd be open to it.
Yeah,
exactly. Sure, I'll take it.
I mean, if I got the question, I wouldn't mind having.
I would say yes.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Here's the problem: if somebody offers you $1 million,
what's the catch?
Exactly. You're right. Yeah, we're not foolish enough to be like, exactly. There's no such thing as a free $1 million out there.
I'm Jordan Scales. Keep that energy high. Love your life. Love what you do. Love everybody around you, and you'll be good.
I am Brittney Grant, and I am audiovisual specialist here at Ames Community College. And my fun job is stage manager at a local roadhouse. How was hot air balloon camp?
Okay, well, we can't leave that one alone. How was hot air balloon camp?
It was one of those other things that is a completely different part of my life that just didn't pan out in the right way. And so I was going to build a hot air balloon, and I crewed for the Tweety Bird balloon for the longest time. And I was going to do a Bob the Tomato.
Wow.
And then I just grew out of it, turned 18, and decided I didn't want to do it anymore. But at the age of 13, went to a hot air balloon camp.
So you flew, you crewed, and we're going to fly hot air balloons.
Yeah, and I did fly hot air balloons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah, we just had a rally here at Ames a couple weeks back, and it was literally the perfect situation where everyone ended up going east, where they normally all go west.
Mm-hmm.
They normally go east, and they ended up going west. Sorry. And then there's things at different festivals where you can make a square. So you go up, you can catch wind, and then come back down, and then catch the wind back.
Move back.
And then if you can land back in the field that you launched in, bonus points. We had a couple almost do that.
Yeah.
A couple balloons almost did that. And then different bullseye games that you can play. But again, it was literally just perfect weather for this launch day, and made me miss it a lot. And I got real nostalgic. So it was, yeah. So another one of those weird things of like previous life that I don't talk about often.
Well, that's all. Well, I'm glad you did. Now, that's so. How often? Like, when's the last time you were up in a hot air balloon?
Ooh, probably close to 15 years.
Wow.
It's been a while.
Well, we need to get Ames to start a ballooning certificate program, and then you could be an adjunct instructor for it.
No, I don't want to do that. That's a lot of weather. That's a lot of different things.
All right.
It is also very expensive.
Yeah, that's true. That's not a cheap hobby to have, I guess. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to have learned that. That's cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Good night. Be safe. Watch out for crazies.
My name is Adaline Tatum. I'm the AVIT training coordinator at UCLA. That's a good one.
I only ask good questions. I don't know.
You do. Maybe why do I choose to be an educator?
Interesting.
No one have ever asked me that. Like, no one have ever asked me why did you choose to be an educator?
Well, then, so one, why did you choose to be an educator? But two, and this is a little thing because I think a lot of people assume that people who are in education were born to it. It's a calling, not a choice. Mm-hmm. So would you say you chose it, or would you say it chose you?
I would say I chose it.
Okay.
Because when I first started, after I got an associate at the University of Belize, mm-hmm. I was hired into a role, and I was the first female computer lab supervisor.
Okay.
So I managed all the computer labs within the university. It was 15 of them. And I was in that field for 5 years. And I used to go in those computer rooms, computer labs, and I would watch how I used to call them work scholars at that mm-hmm. time, would have to support our customers. And many of them had all these questions, they mm-hmm. couldn't interpret how their professor, their faculty explained certain things. And they're asking my student workers, hey, can you help me this? Can you research this?
Yeah.
That type of stuff. And when I saw that, I was like, I need to do that.
Yeah.
And I went and I applied to, they actually called me. Because mm-hmm. by this time I had my bachelor's in IT, and my alma mater, my high school, was looking for an IT teacher. I'm like, okay, can I do it like a sabbatical in case I don't like it? And they were fine with it because it was a government-based, a public institution. And I went. I stayed there for 6 months. Yep. I loved it, and I ended up staying.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it was more like you got put in a situation to see either a need, an opportunity, a way to make something different or change. It's just like, okay,
Yes.
I see it and I'm going to head that direction.
And that's exactly what happened.
That's awesome. I love that story.
Yep.
And here it is years later.
Like, I'm still loving it.
And
even more.
Almost a doctor in it.
And almost a doctor.
All right. Nice.
Yes,
cool. Well, thank you for sharing that story. That was
of
cool.
Course. Take the risk and not let your fear overcome you.
Absolutely. Well, I am the energetic Samantha Powell. I'm our manager of industry advocacy with Avixa. So been there for 3 years. Love every moment of it. So I work on our content creation team, coming up with really great education sessions and webinars, as well as hosting some of our webinars, actually, our design webinar. And I'm also a host on Avixa TV. So really happy to be doing part 2.
What is a question you wish you would be asked, but nobody ever asks?
I think I would say, how can I help you? Mm-hmm. But, like, how can I help you? Yeah. Like, what can I do to, lighten your, like, what do you need? Like, what do you really need?
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, it may just be like, surface level. But I think a lot of people need something or they may just want somebody to talk to, or, somebody who's supportive, or there's just so much that people are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. I think just having people who are genuine and who really care, I think there's not a lot of that happens because we're so busy, right? Yeah. But I think that would be a great question for people to just ask, like, how can I help you? Like, what do you need?
And that, people say that a lot, but there's always, it's like, how are you is the same. And that comes up a lot in this one, which is the difference between saying it in a perfunctory way, hoping that nobody's ever actually going to give you a real answer, and asking it in a real way. And I would tie it back to that being genuine and vulnerable. You have to be that before you can really ask that question or answer that question for somebody in a way that you can get to the bottom of something. So
absolutely,
I think that's a really good one.
Thank you.
Is there any advice is there a way you would go about asking that question to somebody in a way that they knew you were really asking and not just saying it because you think you're supposed to?
I think sometimes if you open up that question with maybe sharing something about yourself, right? I think it goes back to a little bit about what we said before. It's hard for people to be vulnerable with somebody who, they think they just want to, hear some gossip or drama, who doesn't really care. But if you're willing to, open up and, for example, hey, right now I'm feeling so overwhelmed and I just have so many things going on with my life. And, I would love it if somebody helped me with X, but I'm here for you. How can I help you? Granted, I'm going through things and, I understand that you're going through some similar things. Like, I think if you put yourself out there, I think it's easier for somebody to open themselves up and put themselves out there, and they know that you're there to listen and they know that they're not alone. Right. So I think, that vulnerability piece comes right back into that. And they'll see that you're kind of a trusted source because you're willing to put yourself out.
No, I agree. But again, not easier said than done, but something that when cultivated really can kind of really make a serious difference. So
absolutely.
Thank you for that.
Ooh, a fun question. I think my sign off would be love big, laugh often, and keep it classy.
Mr. Lisle Waldron. Lisle, would you please remind everybody who you are and what you do?
I'm L to the I to the N. No, I'm not doing that today. I'm not doing that today, right? My name is Lisle Waldron. I'm the multimedia and audiovisual manager for a place called Trinidad and Tobago. I work at the University of Trinidad and Tobago. And we run ops all day long and try and get faculty and students all the magical technology needs they need. That's what we do. We sell dreams.
What is a question that you wish you would be asked, but nobody ever asks?
How are you doing?
What do you mean by that?
Well,
I bet you have people say, "How you doing?" all the time. Wow.
Yes, because it's a social construct, and we're required to ask people, hey, Ryan, how you going, boy? Right? That's how we'd say it in Trinidad. Ryan, how you doing, boy? You good? But there are not many people who ask that question and actually can receive the answer. Because oftentimes the answer is never fine, good, okay, not too bad. The real answer is far more nuanced. And for me, the reason I said, how are you? Sometimes that how are you is the bridge across, a bridge over a river of worry and pain and suffering that an individual may have that allows them to discuss it.
Yeah.
But you have to be prepared if you're asking that question to really be able to discuss it. And because for me, I mean, again, right? I like you, Ryan. I like the Hetman family. I like all of us. So for me, I'm always literally in my element when I'm around y'all. Y'all make me feel a part of something. I don't feel alone. We have the same problems. Schools, you know, it's like, oh wait, other people in schools. This is so cool. So, you know, for me around y'all, you're not going to see that. But for me in my regular life, for my whole life, I was like 6'3" when I was 13. So I remember I used to have to play basketball with the big kids. And I got a tooth here that is shifted. The reason that tooth was shifted is a shorter guy, he jumped under me and hit me. I was wearing a mouth guard, right? So it's pretty horrible. But I'll never forget what he said. He's like, but you're big. You could take that. I'm like, this is a bloody mouth, right? And that's been the story of my life. So I don't really have a lot of people who would be like, hey, like, how you going? How you? So for me, I ask two things usually. I'll be like, Ryan, how you going? You good? He's like, yeah, good. Da, 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 da. And at some point in the convo, I go, no, Ryan, I'm asking this, again, it's not the same question. How is Ryan going?
Yeah.
So how's Ryan doing? You all right? Your family's good? Everything's good? And hopefully in that moment, you're like, no, I'm actually really good. You know, daughter XYZ the other day, wife was rah, 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 rah. And I kind of get a sense you're good. Because let me tell you where we all are with how are you. We look at the image, the thumbnail in iMessage, and we see a smile. We look at the thumbnail on WhatsApp. I've never seen a sad Instagram picture. I've never seen an Instagram video where somebody's crying.
Yeah.
And even I sometimes fall into the trap that I would look at these profile pics, you know, the professional headshot or whatever it's the case, and I tell myself, yeah, Ryan's doing all right. I'm not gonna message him today. Or I tell myself, well, he's busy. I don't want to message him, which is a little more legitimate. But we oftentimes say, how are you? But we don't ask, how are you? So that's the question for me.
I love the way that you talked about that, and that's one of the, you know, like I said, everyone gets this question, and that is one of the most popular answers to it, because I think people do actually strive for, you know what I'm saying, more connection when it feels like we're not supposed to actually ask and answer that. But what you said there was kind of that. So I always follow up with, okay, how can we ask the question that signals that we are ready to hear it? And you changed it by putting the person's name in it, right? Which is, how's Ryan? You know what I'm saying? How's Lisle? And it that feels, you're right, like that regrounds it into something that says, I'm actually asking about you, not just passing on a colloquialism.
I mean, existentially, I'm removing you and bringing you into between you and I as a concept, and I'm saying to you, because I'm talking to you the whole time, I'm like, how is Ryan Gray doing? Now, if I get to Ryan Gray, it means I'm a little worried. How's Ryan Gray doing? And you now have to also look at this imaginary point of Ryan Gray and make an assessment as how you want to answer it, because it also comes with no strings. All right, I'm not forcing you to answer it anyway. If you just want to tell me fine, okay, it's all good. Most people are also not accustomed to being asked how they're doing in the real sense. So a lot of people are not gonna know what to do with that. I know for me, I crave it. I wish, of course, people that mattered, because you know the wrong person asked me how I'm doing. I'm like, what you talking about, loose? I don't know who you be, all right? So, but yeah, I mean, for me, again, I can only speak for myself. It's the thing I would desire the most, to be not so much worried about, but to be thought of, to be present somewhere in this 9 billion people on Earth. Am I really alone to the point where nobody cares?
Right.
You know, and that one little question, those 3 words, how are you?
Yeah.
I mean, how are you really?
And we know, we know you're not. We know there are people who care, but it takes something to break down and help, like, for people to feel comfortable about it's okay to ask, it's okay to really engage versus, you know.
Yeah.
All right.
But that's the question. Let me go back to a happier time in my life. Always happiest time is when I was a kid. So Casey K-Son, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
Thank you for listening to the AVIT Amplifier. Join us again for next week's episode when we'll welcome a new guest who you'll want to hear from. We promise. Your host has been Ryan Gray. He's on the tweeters at Ryan_A_Gray, or find him on LinkedIn to connect. Please subscribe and give the show a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. This show is brought to you by HigherEdAV.com. The views expressed here are not necessarily those of our respective institutions, employers, or sponsors. Everyone hang in there, go easy, and we'll be back next week.